When your kindness is not reciprocated or you feel like you're being treated like a doormat, it can be tempting to think, well, maybe I just need to toughen up. But please don't abandon kindness. Kindness is not the problem. It's always the right choice. The problem is when kindness gets mistaken for being endlessly available. So today we're talking about how to do both, how to be kind and have boundaries. Warm heart, strong spine. I'm Deanna. I'm a mom and a stepmom, so I get it. Blended family life can come with complicated relationships, and sometimes the tensions are high, but we can still prioritize kindness to others and to yourself. So today I want to give you two things. First, a quick reframe on kindness, what it actually is and what it isn't. And then also a simple boundary formula you can use in real conversations to keep it kind and protect your peace. Let's define it. True kindness is rooted in empathy. It's simply treating others the way you want to be treated. Kindness is care and respect in action. So it's not trying to manage anybody's emotions or people pleasing. Being nice might look like trying to protect the peace no matter what it costs you. You can be kind and say no. Kindness isn't always saying yes. It's understanding that you don't have to be mean when you say no. In a confusing paradox, I have definitely experienced times in life where I was asked to do something and I felt both disbelief that I was even being asked and almost said yes. So in those kind of situations, you can just say no. No is a complete answer. You don't have to explain yourself, and you also don't have to make them feel bad for asking you. People pleasing in a moment like that may feel like, oh, I don't want you to be mad at me, so I'll say yes even though I don't really want to. Versus when you're just being kind, you can handle their disappointment, but you don't need to be hurtful or try to prove your point. And this way also, when you do say yes, you know it's because you really want to. If it requires you to abandon your own needs, that's not kindness. That's customer service. You're part of a family. You don't need to be in customer service. You don't need to do anything to prove your worth, and you don't need to say yes to everybody all the time. Now, that doesn't mean that you will never be inconvenienced. I do say yes to things that maybe aren't the most convenient thing in the world, but I know that I really mean yes. And the truth is, it's okay to sometimes put others' needs above your own. It could be argued the world needs more of that, but you can't do it all the time. Not for everybody, not every day. You have to be honest about your own capacity. And if you start to feel resentful, that's not kindness anymore. That means you're either people-pleasing or expecting something back in return. It's totally reasonable to treat others with care and respect and hope you're treated that way in return, but there's no guarantee that you will be. And that is very different from keeping score, which is especially dangerous in a blended family. If you're keeping score, you're already losing. Choosing to be kind is always an option, but it's not the only option, and you have no control over someone else's behavior. What you do have control over is your response to it. Choosing kindness is a tool available to you, and they don't have to earn it. It's not up to you to decide, do they deserve my kindness today? Being kind is seeing them as a human being who's doing their best. And that may mean that it's something as small as changing your tone or choosing to de-escalate instead of snapping back at somebody. And a big thing I've learned is I can be kind without being close. Being kind to someone doesn't mean I'm inviting them into my inner circle or giving them more access to me than is comfortable. Just like they don't need to earn your kindness, you don't need to earn their approval. When you understand kindness in this way, what it is, empathy, respect, and what it isn't, being saccharine sweet or letting people walk all over you, you can truly always choose kindness, even when you need to stand up for yourself and even in high conflict situations. Kindness will disrupt the pattern. If you're fighting fire with fire, you're just lighting everything on fire. Being kind won't magically change another person, but it can protect you from getting pulled into a dynamic that you don't want to be in. Because some conversations are like quicksand. The more you fight to be understood, the more you're sinking. So sometimes the right choice is to kindly exit. This can come up frequently in blended families because, as I've said, sometimes the tensions are high and the relationships are strained, and that's very common. So often a stepmom may feel like, or maybe even is being told, you're being too nice. And the truth is, again, nice isn't kind. Nice might be wanting somebody to like you and continuing to engage with them even when it's not going anywhere. And kindness could be respectfully ending a conversation. I truly believe it is possible to continue to be kind even when you're dealing with situations that are difficult. And there are a couple terms that get used a lot in step-family conversations. One is a toxic ex and one is a high conflict ex. And those are both terms that I usually don't use in my content. They feel a little unkind, but I do understand sometimes the need to name what you're experiencing. So if you feel like you're in a situation like that and you're like, well, maybe that works if everybody's being kind to each other, but you don't get it, they're never kind to me, you can still be kind. You can always choose kindness. And again, that doesn't mean people pleasing. It doesn't mean needing somebody to like you. Being kind means I'm not responsible for your reaction, but I am responsible for my integrity. If you are still here, you might be able to relate to me in this way, but kindness is a value of mine. It's not something that I want to abandon just because I happen to be in a difficult situation. And so if that's true for you, if being kind is authentic for you, and other people have told you that you can't be kind or that you're being too nice and you have to have better boundaries, again, I want to reiterate, you can do both. It is possible. I have experienced it. You can be kind, be your authentic self, and have boundaries. And that's the next part I want to talk about. And if you're thinking, oh, I've been so focused on standing up for myself and having better boundaries, maybe I haven't been so kind, that's okay too. You're human. You can choose kindness starting today. Moving on to boundaries. Maybe the most helpful thing I've learned about boundaries is you don't have to announce a boundary. In fact, I think they're most effective when you don't. Saying, this is my boundary, please do not cross it, is kind of like a big red button. And you might just be inviting somebody to cross that boundary. This is a little different with kids because kids do need some clear boundaries, but even with kids, being overly rigid about boundaries or making a big production about what happens when boundaries are crossed can set you up for power struggles. But generally with adults, boundaries don't really ever need to be announced. I've actually run across quite a bit of content that encourages people to say something like, if you continue to talk to me in this way, I'm going to end the conversation. And in my experience, that isn't necessary or helpful. It's a stronger choice to just stay neutral and know what your own boundary is going in. So for me, I know that I have a boundary. I don't accept being yelled at, and I'm not going to yell back. So if somebody is yelling at me, I'm not going to try to make it better. I'm not going to try to explain myself or smooth things over. And I'm also not going to say, you can't talk to me like this. And if you talk to me like this, I'm going to end the conversation. I'll just end the conversation. You're human. You're not a robot. This is not going to go perfectly all the time. It doesn't for me. I don't always do this exactly the way that I'm saying. But if you know going in that you have your own boundary, the boundary is for you. The boundary is to guide you about what you are and are not willing to participate in. It's really not so much for the other person. It's to protect you. I've thought about, well, what is happening when it does work so I can share it with you? And I think it pretty much goes like this. First, you have to set the boundary for yourself. You have to know what your boundary is. Next, you notice when it's being crossed or inched up on. And then the next thing would be to meet them with empathy and warmth. Something like, I hear you, I get it. The next step would be to give them an out. This is something that I learned from my husband because he does it so brilliantly with the kids especially, but you don't need to be right or to win. You just need to kind of redirect things, and giving somebody an out can be a wonderful tool in a situation like that. And then finally, if they don't take the out, if you're not able to kind of steer it in a way that feels more comfortable for you, you just exit. And you don't have to be a Zen master when you exit. It can be clear that you are upset or frustrated. It's okay. You can have whatever feelings you have. But the important part is not to engage in it, not to continue to participate when you know that this is a boundary for you, that you do not want to participate in this way. As a step, it's totally reasonable for you to want to have some boundaries with your partner's ex. And they will probably want to have some boundaries with you as well. Depending on your relationship, how that looks exactly will vary dramatically, but at the end of the day, it is absolutely possible to maintain your boundaries and stay kind. And kindness is contagious, not any magical thinking, oh, if I'm kind, everyone will be kind back to me kind of way, but you absolutely have the power to change the climate around you with the way that you show up. And kindness does often bring down the temperature. Plus, in a blended family, there are probably children, and children notice everything. And so when you are kind, you are modeling for them. It is valuable for them to see that you can be firm without being cruel, and that people can be kind even in sticky situations. Kindness, like empathy, isn't a personality trait. It's a practice, and it's always the right choice. I would love to hear from you. So if any of this resonated with you, if you ever have felt like you had to choose between being kind and having boundaries, or you found any of this helpful, please comment below. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.